comrades. This is Behind the Walls Talk with your founder, William McCallum, and I thank you for visiting this domain. I'm here to give you an insight into the minds and hearts of those incarcerated that have been deemed voiceless. Well, this is where their voice and stories will be told for those of you who are concerned with human beings that are in prison for the mistakes they have made and for some of the injustices that were committed against them. Resolutions for reform is the goal and objective looking to be attained. Now step into our world. This is Behind the Walls Talk, and this is a special episode with a lady from the women's facility at Lanesboro Correctional. What makes this episode so special? I'll tell you. You never hear about what the women go through behind the walls. You never hear of their personal experiences, their feelings, and their cases are not highlighted unless it's shunned to present them in a negative manner. The lady I have here with me today should have never been incarcerated to begin with. The only reason she's incarcerated is because she didn't tell them what they wanted to hear, with the detectives not even knowing if she had any information to give them anyway. So therefore, they consider themselves punishing her for not doing their jobs for them. This is not justice being served. This is a wrongful conviction from a broken system that has no empathy for humanity. So without further ado,
this call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
Tell the listeners, my sister, your name and where you're from.
My name is Shanika Mitchell. I was born in Fayetteville, North Carolina, but I'm from Lumberton, North Carolina.
Okay, L-Town in the house. Hey, what were you convicted of, and how much time did they can give you?
I was convicted of first-degree murder, attempted murder, conspiracy, and shooting in an occupied vehicle, and they gave me life with the possibility of parole after 25 years.
Life with the possibility of parole after 25 years?
Yes.
God. At what age were you charged with this?
17 years old.
You were 17 years old when they charged you with this crime. And you were convicted
yes,
at what age?
At 20.
At 20 years old. Hey, coming into the system at that age, what feelings did you experience? Like, when they told you that they gave you a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 25 years, what feelings did you experience at that moment?
The feelings that I felt defeated. I was scared of the unknown because, like you said, I had never even had a ticket before. I hadn't experienced a lot in life. I wasn't even really a woman yet. So I didn't know nothing. But I knew my brother was there, so I knew we could do it together, so that was my only hope. And then after 2 weeks of me being in prison, I found out I was pregnant. That's when stuff started to change.
So what was your experience like giving birth in prison?
After I found out, I got depressed because I was like, well, God, you gave me something, and I ain't even going to be there to experience it. And I know what it was like with my parents not being there for me, and I ain't want him to feel that same feeling. So I was like, you gotta do something. You gotta give me something to give to him. So I started to find myself because I was like, I can't be lost. I can't give nothing to him if I'm lost. So I just started getting myself together, but it took me a while to get there because I had to give birth to him. I had to be shackled to the bed when I gave birth to him. I had a C-section, thank God, because if I had to have him natural, I would have only had a day with him. But I had to have a C-section, so I had 7 days with him. But leaving him, I had to leave him in the hospital, and then they called my parents to come get him. But I had to be left. I had to leave the hospital all together, and then they had to come get him. That was hard for me to deal with.
I couldn't even imagine what you had to go through. How long have you now been incarcerated?
In prison, I have been in 7 years now. I did a year in the county, so 8 years altogether.
8 years old together. May I ask you, there was a little boy, right?
Yeah, he's a little boy.
What's his name?
DeMarco.
Is there anything you would like to say to him right now?
Son, I love you with all my heart. There's nothing in this world I wouldn't do for you. You're the greatest thing that has ever happened to me.
That's right. That's right. So, what have your total experience in prison been like?
It ain't always been sunshine and roses, but the good outweighs the bad sometimes. Just got to make the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. Do you mind telling the listeners of any injustices you may have witnessed, unprofessionalism from staff and administration, living conditions or rights you feel the women should have?
Yes, well,
This call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
right now, the unit that I'm in, we failed inspection because it was a mold infestation in the pod that I'm in. They took down the soundboard in the pod, like around the TVs, and it was like mold all up there. So they moved the unit manager and put a new unit manager in. So he tried to come in here and they tried to cover it up with black paint. That's why I sound the way I'm doing. Like I'm sick. I got my head feels like it's just full of just cold. Last night I was coughing, my nose stopped up, and our air was off all weekend. So when I fell, all you could see is just black mold coming down our walls. So I had to the air came back on Monday. I had to clean the whole cell out. Like our windows, they sweat and the mold dropped. The water drips down in the back of the bed. You know we can't get back there and clean it, so we breathe that in all night. It's just the men here.
This call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
Hey, something just dawned on me, right? Because at Lanesboro Correctional, I was there when it was a men's facility too as well. But that facility is built just like Scotland, Bertie, Alexander, and they're having the same issues at each one of these facilities with the mold, because that's what we had at Scotland. We were speaking out about that at Scotland, about the mold in the bathroom and the showers, about the mold on the walls and on the air conditioning vents. And they do exactly the same thing that you said that they did there by covering it up with black paint.
And they're not giving us nothing to clean it with, just the correction enterprise, that disinfectant and that green spray. That's all they're giving us.
That's exactly what they gave us too as well. When they're supposed to be treated, you're supposed to have an outside entity to come in and specially clean mold. It has to be treated.
They had maintenance come in here and put bleach on it, and you can see the bleach spots, the black. You can see where they sprayed it, and then they went over it with black paint.
See, that's something right there that needs to be addressed. For all you listeners out there on Behind the Walls Talk, that's something that really needs to be addressed. That's a very important issue because the health and the wellness of us being incarcerated in the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections is very important. This is cruel and inhumane for us to live within these living conditions inside these prisons where there's mold infested within the walls, the air conditioning vents, everything that we have to ingest within the system. So please speak out about this, and please contact Miss Dukes. She's the Secretary of State. Contact her, email her, and you can go to Behind the Walls Talk to get her information if you need so. Well, please do so. Okay. What type of programs do you all have that help assist in the rehabilitation process?
for long-termers as myself, they don't really have anything for you to do here. But overall, at this prison, jobs and schooling is limited with waiting lists miles long, and they only really got like commercial cleaning, sewing class, garrison classes, and they only last probably 8 to 10 weeks. But me being locked down as long as I have, I've already done all of that.
Yeah, that's the same thing we go through too as well. And they say that y'all get everything. That's what we hear in the men's facility. They talk about y'all all the time when they say the women get everything. But it seems as if y'all going through the same troubles that we're going through.
Yeah, we do.
I'm gonna ask you. So I want to go back. I want to go back to your son, because I have a question. Like, how does being physically absent in your child's life affect you while being incarcerated? And what is it that you do to be there for them mentally and spiritually right now?
Being absent in his life has been one of the hardest things I've ever had to endure. But it motivates me to never give up because I know he's waiting on me. And I write him. We talk on the phone every day. I read him short little verses from the Bible. I make sure my grandma take him to church. He don't like to sit down and listen, but at least he there. He just be everywhere.
That's what's up. So how does your visiting go with him?
He sits in my lap the whole time. He plays with my dreads. He looks in my face. He looks in my eyes. He just adores me, and I love it.
That's right. What was your childhood like?
Both of my parents are addicts, so I was raised by my grandparents.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I was spoiled. I had it all, but it was just it was a void that couldn't be filled. So I constantly felt them from other problems, drugs, couldn't bring it to a family.
Okay, excuse me, Shanika. The phone call is about to end, and I need you to call back. Behind the Walls Talk will continue. Hey, Shanika, we'd like to go back to that last question. I'd like for you to start over when I asked you, like, what was your childhood like?
Well, both of my parents are addicts. I was raised by my grandparents. I was spoiled. I had it all, but it just couldn't fill that void that I constantly felt was missing, that the problems drugs bring into a family.
Okay. What were you aspiring to be growing up?
I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Oh, you wanted to be a pediatrician?
Yeah.
That's all right. You can still be whatever you want to be, because we're gonna definitely try to get you up out of here and do the best we possibly can in doing so. So therefore, you can get out and have a life with your child and have a life that you always dreamed of having. But I would like, let me ask you something.
This call is from a North Carolina Correctional Facility.
With everything that you've been through in life, and with you being charged with this crime.
This call is from a North Carolina Correctional Facility.
At the age of 17, and, you know, would you give the youth out there now some words of encouragement and upliftment that will motivate them to find a career for themselves other than a life of crime and tricking?
Yes. It's nothing like opening your own door when you want it open, or going outside when you want to go, eating what you want when you want it, picking up the phone and not having to worry about if you got enough money to call home or if the other person going to press 5, hugging and holding the ones you love for more than 5 seconds. It's the little things you got to appreciate sometimes. And I know it get dark and cloudy, but the storms don't last forever.
Have you had to deal with the death of any loved ones you hold dear to your heart?
Yeah, I lost my maternal grandmother and a few other people I held real dear to me. And it's just crazy and unreal when I get there. They won't be.
Anything you would like to say about the impact they made on your life?
No, not really. I left young, so I was here and there, everywhere.
That's right. All right, will you tell the listeners what a second chance in society means to you?
A second chance in society means to me doing everything to get it right, to raise my son, to do the things I didn't think I would ever have the chance to do, to love on the people I didn't think I would have the chance to love on except through visitation.
Okay. Any last words you would like to share?
I want to say thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. This was an honor. I was nervous. I ain't never done nothing like this before, but I really loved it.
Yeah, we thank you too, because this is a groundbreaking moment for us and for everybody in North Carolina, because nobody really hears what goes on in the women's facility. Nobody really hears anything from the women in the women's facility. And I'd like to make a correction at this moment. You're at Anson Correctional, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because Anson Correctional is the old Lanesboro for me, so that's why I call it Lanesboro Correctional.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're at Anson Correctional. And but this is definitely a groundbreaking moment, because you never see any interviews with any women in the facilities. So therefore they can be able to tell their stories, tell their experiences, and everything that they go through while being incarcerated. So I thank you. I thank you so much for giving me this moment to enjoy this groundbreaking moment. Hopefully we can get so many more interviews out of the women at the facility, and we're going to advocate for you. We're going to advocate for you and everyone at that facility. We're going to make sure that their voices can be heard and that everybody can hear exactly what they have to say.
Thank you.
So
that was Shanika Mitchell, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Shanika, for this wonderful, groundbreaking interview. The women have a voice that deserves to be heard just as much as the men. But as you can see and hear,
this call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
We're all affected by the same struggles. Although Shanika Mitchell, she shouldn't have to face any of these struggles. And she should be home with her son to raise him and give him that unconditional love that only a mother can give. Support my sister's fight for freedom. Justice must be served. And with that, peace from Behind the Walls Talk.